You wake up in a city on fire. Demons have poured through a tear in reality, your friends are dead, and your legs are gone. You're Luca, and survival comes at a cost. Riham, a wounded demon, offers possession in exchange for new limbs. Accepting binds your fates together, and suddenly, every step, swing, and fight is shared. The city of Sansu is haunting. Crumbling offices, flooded streets, abandoned subways, it feels alive and broken. Everyday objects are twisted into enemies. Vending machines lunge, buses crawl, traffic cones stab. Combat is fast and tactical. Kitchen knives, baseball bats, even a computer mouse become tools for juggling enemies, chaining combos, and experimenting with devastating special attacks. Your whip doubles as a grappling hook and a weapon, pulling enemies or yourself across the battlefield, making every encounter dynamic. Dodges and parries reward timing and attention, and mistakes carry weight, but failure always teaches. The heart of the game is Luca and Rem. Their dialogue blends grief, dark humor, and reluctant mentorship. Through shared memories and quiet moments, their bond deepens, giving every fight and exploration a personal stake. It's a partnership that feels lived in, guiding both story and gameplay. Exploration is classic Metroidvania. You climb, swing, and smash through ruins, unlocking shortcuts and secrets. Progress often demands backtracking, but the city rewards patience with hidden upgrades, lore, and surprises. The map is minimal, and fast travel is limited, making navigation a small but satisfying challenge. The game shines visually and audibly. Hand-painted sprites contrast with decaying urban backdrops, while muted tones punctuated with bursts of demonic energy create a sense of life and ruin. Music and sound design heighten tension, reward action, and underscore the city's loneliness. It's not perfect. Whip targeting can misfire, parries feel floaty, and some encounters stretch too long. The map can confuse, and a few mechanics lack polish. But these flaws never outweigh the core experience. Intense combat, inventive enemies, and a city that feels both familiar and haunted. For me, it is a 8.5 out of 10. Possessors is for players who enjoy atmospheric storytelling, tactical combat, and exploration with stakes. It's a Metroidvania that challenges you, rewards skill, and delivers a story about survival, grief, and unexpected companionship.
I promise we'll be the best in Japan!
From the very first moments, Inazuma Victory Road pulls you into its world with energy and enthusiasm that is palpable. You're not just managing a soccer team, you're crafting stories, forming bonds, and exploring a world alive with personality. Every character, from the heroes to the side players, carries a weight and history that makes them feel like part of a larger universe. And it's not just the dialogue or the story beats the animation, courtesy of high-quality cinematic sequences and the dynamic way the game transitions from narrative to gameplay keeps you immersed. Whether you're a longtime fan or a newcomer curious about the series, gameplay feels intuitive at first, with controls that are responsive and satisfyingly tactile. Passing, shooting, and performing those legendary special moves feel both strategic and visceral. The thrill of timing a perfect shot or pulling off a chain of moves that culminate in an over-the-top cinematic goal never gets old. Yet, there are moments where the AI feels a bit rigid, particularly in managing passing choices. It can be frustrating when the flow you envision is disrupted by an AI decision. But these moments are rare enough that they don't overshadow the joy of gameplay. Victory Road thrives on its sheer scale. The amount of content here is staggering. With hundreds of characters to recruit, dozens of strategies to experiment with, and countless matches to play, the game doesn't just demand time, it rewards it. Each match feels unique, with the synergy between your chosen characters determining the outcome in ways that keep you constantly engaged. Even the minor players have moments to shine, and unlocking their stories feels genuinely satisfying. One of the game's standout elements is its integration of RPG mechanics with sports gameplay. The balance is delicate, but when executed, it feels natural. You level up, strategize, equip items, and refine your team composition while still feeling the adrenaline and unpredictability of a real match. The chronicling system adds layers of progression, rewarding dedication and exploration in ways that are deeply gratifying. And for those who enjoy online competition, the game provides a robust experience, though occasional connectivity issues can make matches unpredictable. Still, the heart of the game lies in the story, and the story never falters. The narrative itself is where Victory Road truly shines. From the early chapters, there's a sense of anticipation, a slow build that rewards patience when the team finally forms and the matches intensify. The stakes feel genuine. You care about every player on the field, about every tactical decision, and about every moment of triumph or setback. The dialogue is energetic, the voice acting elevates key scenes, and the soundtrack punctuates every cinematic goal and emotional turning point. With flair nostalgia, hits hard for veteran players, but the story stands on its own, accessible to anyone willing to invest the time. Visually, the game is a feast, cinematics are polished, in-game models carry personality, and special moves explode in dazzling spectacle. There are moments where the 3D character models don't feel quite as sharp as the animated sequences, but these moments are minor in the context of the overall experience. The environments, stadiums, and background art contribute to a living, breathing world, one that makes you feel like you're part of a larger universe rather than just an observer. The game does have rough edges, bugs that occasionally disrupt the flow, minor translation inconsistencies, and those AI quirks, but they never fully detract from the enjoyment. Each flaw is a reminder that this is a game built with ambition, skill, and care, attempting to push beyond what the series has offered. Inazuma 11, Victory Road is an exhilarating, immersive, and emotionally resonant experience. It combines the best elements of sports, RPGs, and cinematic storytelling into a single, cohesive package. It's a game that rewards both strategic thinking and emotional investment, one that can consume hours without ever feeling repetitive. For me, it is an 8.5 out of 10. It is a game. For fans of anime-inspired sports games, RPG enthusiasts, and anyone who appreciates a story-driven competitive experience, this game is not just recommended, it's essential.
This city doesn't run on truth and ethics, kiddo. It's all about knowing who pulls the strings behind the curtain. We're talking to me.
Imagine stepping into a newsroom in the 1930s New York, the clatter of typewriters echoing through the air, telegraphs buzzing, and the presses thundering relentlessly. That's the world News Tower immerses you in, a game where every choice has weight, every story has consequence, and every decision shapes the fate of your newspaper empire. You start small, with a modest office, a handful of employees, and just enough funds to keep the lights on. From there, the challenge unfolds, slowly layering complexity that feels natural, rather than overwhelming. You hire reporters, editors, telegraphers, and support staff. You assign stories, balance genres, manage morale, and juggle faction demands. And every week you face the crucible of the deadline, where your planning, strategy, and foresight are tested. The real magic of News Tower lies in how it captures the rhythm of a bustling newsroom. There's a tangible sense of urgency as you shuffle stories, adjust layouts, and prepare for print. The employees aren't just numbers, they have personalities, skills, and quirks that affect how they perform. You'll find yourself invested in their growth, strategizing who covers politics, crime, society, or entertainment. And when breaking news hits, your choices ripple through the newsroom, challenging your ability to adapt and prioritize. The faction system adds a layer of tension, as the mafia, high society, and local politicians all have their eyes on your paper, offering perks and influence, but at a cost if you misstep. The aesthetics reinforce the experience perfectly. The visuals are clean, minimalistic, yet charming, evoking the towering architecture of New York without overwhelming the player. Stick figure characters navigate the office with purposeful energy, bringing life to the micromanagement. And the soundtrack, a rich blend of jazz and big band music, drives the pace without ever becoming intrusive. Sound effects, from the rhythmic clatter of typewriters to the mechanical hum of presses, ground the player in this bygone era. Progression in News Tower feels earned, expanding your tower, hiring specialized staff, unlocking global correspondence, and navigating complex story arcs rewards patience, attention, and strategic thinking. Yet, it remains challenging. Randomized story events, risky assignments, and the occasional misstep keep you engaged and invested in the outcomes of your decisions. There's satisfaction in watching your empire grow, your readership expand, and your newspaper become a powerful voice in the city. News Tower isn't for those seeking instant gratification or pure action. It demands thought, attention, and a willingness to embrace both the thrill and the grind of managing a newsroom. But for players who enjoy strategy, simulation, and historical immersion, it delivers a rich, rewarding, and uniquely atmospheric experience. Every dispatch, every layout decision, and every moral choice feels consequential, making the game more than just a management sim. It feels like running your own little corner of history. Overall, I would give News Tower a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's ideal for gamers who appreciate thoughtful strategy, historical settings, and management sims that challenge you to think on multiple levels. If you enjoy building systems, nurturing teams, and experiencing the pulse of a 1930s newsroom, this game is absolutely worth your time. If you've ever wanted a game that takes the concept of a twin-stick shooter and turns it into a living, breathing, neon-soaked rhythm of chaos, then Sectoria is here to deliver. From the moment you take control of your little triangular ship, you're thrust into an arena that never stops moving. Enemies appear from every angle, their patterns unpredictable, their shapes hypnotic, and their sheer numbers demanding your full attention. It's immediately clear that this isn't a game about hand-holding or tutorials. It's about instinct, timing, and learning through play. The controls are crisp and responsive. Move with one stick, aim with the other, and the rest is pure reaction. But Sectoria adds layers beneath that simplicity. Your strike ability isn't just a dash, it's a tool for survival and strategy. Hitting enemies while activating strike, or timing it through the scattered upgrade tokens, rewards you with explosive satisfaction and a score multiplier that feels genuinely earned. Every run becomes a balancing act of aggression and patience. It's an elegant dance of chaos. The upgrade systems are subtle, but deeply rewarding. Collecting Glimmer to unlock abilities like improved speed, shield regeneration, or more potent blasters feels gratifying. The deck system adds a thoughtful layer of decision-making. Choosing which abilities will complement your playstyle introduces risk and reward in a way that keeps each run feeling fresh. You're not just shooting enemies, you're curating a strategy mid-battle, constantly adapting to shifting conditions. And the arenas themselves aren't static backdrops. They morph and twist as you play. Floors disappear, new paths open, and sections shift unpredictably. This keeps you constantly alert, ensuring that no two runs feel exactly alike. The visuals are a masterclass in neon artistry. Colors explode, enemies shimmer, and the whole screen pulses in sync with a thumping electronic soundtrack. It's almost meditative in its intensity, drawing you into a trance where the music and gameplay merge seamlessly. The campaign challenges you, but Sectori doesn't rely on unfair difficulty. Deaths are learning experiences, each one teaching you better positioning, timing, and decision-making. And once you've conquered the first few bosses, alternative modes like Boss Rush, Gates, and Surge add variety, offering different ways to test your skills and experiment with the mechanics. Ultimately, Sectori is a pure arcade experience distilled into a modern form. It's chaotic, vibrant, challenging, and immensely satisfying. The feeling of chaining strikes, dodging impossible odds, and watching your score climb higher than before is intoxicating. If you love fast-paced action, neon visuals, and a soundtrack that fuels your adrenaline, this game will pull you in and refuse to let go. Sectori earns an 8.5 out of 10. It's a game I'd recommend to anyone seeking a high-intensity twin-stick shooter, especially players who appreciate fast reflexes, thoughtful risk-reward mechanics, and a pulsating, immersive audiovisual experience. Escape from Duck Off is unlike anything you've experienced before. At first glance, it looks whimsical, a world overrun by chaos, and you, a lone duck, armed to the beak, navigating through destruction and looting for survival. Yet beneath the playful surface lies a surprisingly tense and intricate extraction shooter that keeps you on edge with every step. The game opens with you waking in a prison on the brink of collapse, a guide called Jeff offering minimal direction, and suddenly, the sandbox of Duck Off is yours to explore. From the very first moments, you feel the weight of the world. The environment is alive, storms rage unpredictably, enemies patrol intelligently, and every corner could hide both loot and danger. Customization is a joy. You can sculpt your duck with ridiculous precision, from feathers and beaks to eyes that can literally be shells. The absurdity doesn't undercut the stakes, it amplifies the charm. Each raid begins with a careful choice, what to take, how to approach, and when to pull back. The top-down perspective gives clarity, but the limited vision cone ensures tension. Sounds are crucial. Footsteps, quacks, and environmental noise inform decisions, and missing a cue can mean death. Combat is satisfying. Guns recoil realistically, bows require aim, and bosses introduce distinct patterns that reward patience and strategy. Every encounter feels meaningful, every narrow escape exhilarating. The looting and progression systems are equally compelling. Items aren't just currency, they're tools, upgrades, and keys to survival. Your bunker is a hub of continual improvement. Crafting stations, storage expansions, and unique facilities all feed into a cycle of preparation, execution, and reward. Return from a failed raid, rebuild, and dive in again. The sense of growth is addictive. Rare materials and random loot maintain unpredictability without ever feeling unfair. There's a rhythm to it, a loop of anticipation, planning, and payoff that never dulls. Visually, the game balances humor and tension. Ducks in tactical gear contrast with broken buildings, flickering lights, and haunting fog. Storms transform familiar maps into deadly arenas, and lighting and sound cues heighten immersion. Even in a cartoonish world, stakes feel real, and the blend of whimsy and dread is perfectly calibrated. Each map offers secrets, shortcuts, and vertical exploration, rewarding curiosity and planning. Escape from Duck Off succeeds not just as a parody, but as a deeply engaging game. It's single-player, removing the stress of PvP, yet retains all the tension of an extraction shooter. The story is simple, but effective, giving context to survival and progression, and the humor punctuates rather than undermines the experience. Challenges increase naturally, bosses provide memorable moments, and the endless quest for upgrades keeps you invested. Duck Off is more than a cute concept, it's a polished, challenging, and rewarding experience. It invites players into a strange, vibrant world where each decision matters, where risk is thrilling, and where even a duck can feel like a hero. For anyone who enjoys strategy, tense gameplay, and a world that is simultaneously ridiculous and serious, Escape from Duck Off is a must-play, and a game that for me is an 8.5 out of 10.
I think I'll never get out of here.
Rue Valley drops you into a quiet, unsettling town where time doesn't flow as it should. You play as Eugene Harrow, a man trapped in a mysterious 47-minute time loop. From the moment you finish your first therapy session, you realize nothing is normal. The sky flares red, the clock resets, and you're forced to live through the same brief stretch of night over and over. The game isn't about combat or loot. It's about exploration, observation, and understanding human emotion. Every decision you make shapes Eugene's personality, and your choices ripple subtly through the narrative. A unique mindset system tracks states like anxiety, guilt, or determination, changing dialogue options and interactions. This makes each playthrough feel personal and unpredictable, encouraging experimentation. Gameplay blends point-and-click exploration with careful time management. Every loop challenges you to prioritize conversations, investigate objects, and plan the best route through the town. Some tasks need timing and patience. Others hinge on subtle clues you uncover over multiple loops. The mind map helps organize information, track intentions, and unlock memories, making progress feel organic. Eugene's personality traits, decisional, emotional, social, shape how he experiences the world. Status effects like being wet from rain or slightly tipsy temporarily alter interactions, adding nuance to the role-playing. You feel his frustration, hesitation, and occasional bursts of confidence. The game makes you live in his shoes, not just play them. The world of Rue Valley is atmospheric and alive. Hand-drawn, comic book-style visuals give it a surreal, slightly unstable feel. Streets shimmer with neon, motel rooms glow dimly, and characters jitter with subtle motion lines that reflect tension and unease. The soundscape is immersive. Footsteps echo, distant hums linger, and the jazz-tinged soundtrack pulses quietly, drawing you deeper into the town's rhythms. Interactions with the town's residents are layered and compelling. Each person has quirks, hidden agendas, and subtle hints that piece together the mysteries of Rue Valley. You start seeing patterns, noticing repetition, and gradually understanding the fragile humanity around you. There's humor, sadness, and moments that hit unexpectedly hard. The time loop mechanic is the game's core strength. It mirrors Eugene's mental state, creating a sense of pressure and inevitability, but it also invites curiosity and creativity. Repetition becomes a tool, not a punishment. Learning how to spend each 47 minutes efficiently feels satisfying, almost meditative, as you start connecting clues and shaping outcomes. There are minor frustrations. Some puzzles feel rigid, and repeated travel can slow the pace, but they rarely overshadow the overall experience. The focus remains on emotion, narrative, and discovery. Rue Valley is an intimate, immersive journey into human psychology and the consequences of choice. It's a game that asks you to pay attention, empathize, and reflect. It rewards patience and curiosity, offering a unique narrative RPG experience. For me, it is an 8.5 out of 10. I recommend Rue Valley to players who love character-driven stories, thoughtful exploration, and games that explore emotion and mental complexity. It's perfect for anyone ready to get lost in a loop, uncover subtle secrets, and live inside another person's mind for a few intense, unforgettable hours. I sat down with Luminous Arise, expecting a smart, stylish puzzle game. I left an hour later, wondering how a handful of color squares could make me feel like I'd attended a miniature concert. This is not hyperbole. The way the game links sound to action is precise, personal, and occasionally heartbreaking. Listen closely. Every drop, every rotation, every cleared cluster is a tiny musical decision. The timeline isn't just a mechanic, it is the conductor. When it sweeps across your playfield, the world answers. Notes bloom, lights respond, particles sigh. The feedback loop, the one that binds your hands to the music, is where Arise becomes more than a puzzle. Mechanically, Arise is gloriously economical. 2x2 blocks fall. Each tile is one of two colors. Arrange same-colored squares into larger formations and wait for the timeline to take them. Timing is the currency. Place too slowly and the board fills. Place too fast and you miss the chance for bigger chains. The joy is in the negotiation. Speed versus composition. Improvisation versus planning. Newcomers get a thoughtful onboarding. There are missions that teach nuance, not just rules. They show you why a single rotation matters, why a split-second delay changes the feel of a combo. These lessons are short, direct, and honest. The kind that let you climb from fumbling player to deliberate performer. Burst mode is the headline change, and it's brilliant. Charge it, pick a square, and watch the game reward focused attention. It's less a cheat and more a second instrument. Use it tactically, and it turns messy boards into choreography. Use it clumsily, and you learn faster. But Arise's real currency is atmosphere. Journey modes string stages like movements in a suite. Each one has its own color, rhythm, and visual gag. Sometimes whimsical, sometimes oddly tender. One stage will make you grin at its cheeky inventiveness. The next will quiet your shoulders with a slow, aching melody that lingers after you stop playing. VR elevates this. Put the headset on, and the background stop being wallpaper. They become spatial players in the performance. Particles drift at head height. Cameras zoom like excited audiences. Haptics and subtle headset shakes do more than simulate force. They punctuate moments, giving weight to success and a gentle sting to failure. Design-wise, Arise understands restraint. It knows when to let the music carry a moment and when to puncture it with a mechanical jolt. Visual flourishes are frequent but not gratuitous. Accessibility options exist for players who need clarity. If the screen ever feels too busy, you can simplify without losing the song. Where the game stumbles is predictable. A few tracks feel padded with lyrics that don't land, and some modes could have pushed the core rules further. I wanted one more experimental twist, a radical mode that reimagines what the timeline could do. Still, these are small misses in a game rich with successful choices. Rise asks little and gives much. It asks for attention, rhythm, and willingness to learn. It gives back calm, joy, and an odd kind of theater that fits in a living room or inside a headset. Its loops are short and deep, its aesthetic palette is confident, its emotional reach is surprising. For me, it is an 8.5 out of 10. I can recommend this to anyone who enjoys puzzles that sing. Lumineos Arise is a performance you can play. It's an intimate concert that rewards practice as much as skill, and it stays with you longer than expected. Master Lemon, The Quest for Iceland is a game that immediately pulls you into a world where words hold weight, and every syllable seems to echo with meaning. From the very first moment you step into Lemon's shoes, you are invited to move at a different pace, to immerse yourself fully, to listen, to explore, and to feel. There's a quiet magic here, a sense that the game exists not just to entertain, but to touch something deeper within you. The story is deceptively simple, yet emotionally potent. You play as Lemon, a young linguist whose journey to Iceland takes an unexpected, otherworldly turn. The narrative unfolds gently, letting you absorb the weight of loss, the warmth of memory, and the beauty of human connection. Lemon's mission is to navigate the mysterious Ilhas Bashir, a realm shrouded in a creeping darkness that erases words and memories. But this darkness is not just a plot device. It is a tactile presence that grows, retreats, and reacts to your choices. Every word you speak, every interaction you have, feels purposeful. Language itself becomes a form of magic, a tool to heal, illuminate, and reconnect. Gameplay here is a lesson in subtle design. The controls are responsive, intuitive, and forgiving, which allows you to focus entirely on the world and the tasks at hand. You explore a variety of islands, each distinct, each layered with cultural textures and secrets waiting to be uncovered. Collecting words in multiple languages is not only a clever mechanic, but a deeply satisfying one. Seeing a character's reaction to the perfect phrase, feeling the world brighten, or a path unlock is an immediate emotional reward that transcends typical game feedback. Side quests are intertwined seamlessly with the main story, encouraging curiosity and a sense of discovery without ever feeling like busy work. Visually, Master Lemon is striking. The pixel art style carries an unexpected depth, a warmth that makes every environment feel alive. The fog and shadow effects are particularly compelling. The way the darkness recedes as you advance is not only functional, but poetic. The character designs are expressive, cultural, and endearing, while the ambient details, the flicker of light, the sway of vegetation, the subtle animations, contribute to an environment that feels inhabited, not just rendered. Audio is equally integral to the experience. Voice work is thoughtful and clear, imbuing the dialogue with personality and nuance. Music swells and fades in perfect harmony with the mood, guiding your emotions almost imperceptibly. The pronunciation of each collected word is delivered with care, reinforcing the game's commitment to celebrating language and culture. There are moments where mechanics like the Gambiara system add a playful twist, letting you combine objects in surprising ways. Some puzzles may require experimentation and patience, but never frustration. The pace never feels forced and the difficulty scales naturally, always respecting the player's intelligence and curiosity. Master Lemon is more than an adventure. It is an experience that blends narrative, gameplay, and aesthetic into something that lingers long after the screen goes dark. It makes you feel the weight of memory, the resonance of words, and the quiet joy of discovery. There are small technical imperfections, minor bugs, and occasional moments where side quests can feel slightly opaque, but these are eclipsed by the richness of the journey. For gamers who cherish thoughtful, emotionally resonant experiences, who enjoy exploration, narrative puzzles, and unique world building, Master Lemon, The Quest for Iceland is a rare gem. It invites reflection, engagement, and immersion in a way few games manage to do. Whether you are drawn by curiosity, culture, or the sheer joy of discovery, this is a game that rewards patience and heart. Master Lemon, The Quest for Iceland is a beautifully realized adventure, a testament to the power of storytelling and the magic of language in games. It is an 8.5 out of 10, a score that reflects its creativity, emotional depth, and the unforgettable journey it offers. I recommend for anyone seeking a deeply human, quietly profound experience, perfect for players who value narrative, exploration, and the subtle power of words. Imagine slipping into Deadpool's head, and not metaphorically, literally. From the second the world snaps into focus, you're not watching Wade Wilson, you are Wade Wilson. The helmet is heavy with sarcasm, the air smells faintly of chimichangas, and every corridor vibrates with the promise of violent, ridiculous spectacle. Deadpool VR isn't polite, it doesn't ask for your consent, it hands you twin pistols, 2 katanas, a grappling gun, and a wristful of grenades, and then dares you to be creative. The core loop is simple and deeply satisfying. Move through an arena, combine movement with weapon play, score spectacle, get rewarded. But the joy is in the in-between. The slow motion catch, the weapon ricochet that refills a magazine, the absurd little physics quirks that let you throw a shotgun like a boomerang and catch it midair. This game understands motion. Wall runs, double jumps, dive kicks, and grapple arcs create a choreography that makes even simple enemy waves feel like a staged stunt sequence. Melee is a compromise. Katanas never quite feel heavy, and that's a hardware limitation the game cheekily accepts. The solution is clever. Rather than pretending swords have weight, the designers reward experimentation. Use your guns to juggle, your grapple to reposition, and your throws to create beautiful, messy kill chains. Humor is the engine. Neil Patrick Harris brings a relentless stream of barbed commentary that lands often enough to keep the grin on your face. The writing is dense, referential, and self-aware without being lazy. It mocks game design, celebrates gross-out gags, and lets you feel complicit in the joke. Supporting voices add color, and the cast leans into the absurdity instead of apologizing for it. The game is not flawless. Boss encounters sometimes turn into choreographed quick-time events that yank you out of the kinetic flow. Repeating long bites of dialogue during replays can frustrate speedruns. And in the heaviest moments, performance hiccups remind you that the quest hardware is doing extraordinary things and occasionally asking too much. Still, those are quibbles against a larger truth. This is a crafted playground for mayhem. Levels to reward curiosity, hidden doors, character variants that unlock secret routes, and toys that change your rhythm. The reality show framing elevates progression into performance metrics, making each kill feel like part of an absurd live broadcast. Visually, the cel-shaded palette pops. Sound design is braided with music drops that turn power-ups into miniature music videos. Together, they make the most mundane kill feel cinematic. If you love improvisational combat, dark humor, and a game that treats you as both performer and audience, Deadpool BR is a triumph. If you prefer tight, realistic swordplay or purely cerebral pacing, it will grate. For those willing to embrace the mess, the bad jokes, and the glorious chaos, this is one of the most cinematic, joyful, and unrepentant VR action experiences available. I scored an 8.5 out of 10 and can recommend it for players who love high-energy movement, creative weapon play, and a character who refuses to be dignified. Where Winds Meet is one of those games that makes you feel both small and infinite at the same time. From the first moment I stepped into its sprawling landscapes, I felt the weight of history pressing softly against my shoulders, as if the game itself wanted me to breathe in 10th century China, to move through it with care, and to live inside the stories of the wandering martial artists it portrays. You start with the character of your own design, and from that moment, the game insists that your choices, your movements, and your actions matter. It's not just about combat or quests, but about inhabiting a world that responds, often subtly, to your presence. The opening sequence immediately sets the tone. A cinematic horseback chase, a stolen artifact, a fleeting moment of vulnerability. It's all here. You feel the thrill of the sword, the fluidity of movement, and the promise of a story that wants to sweep you away. Every swing, every leap, even the quiet moments of simply watching the wind ripple through fields or city streets carries a sense of life and place. The environments are stunning, filled with minute details that make exploration deeply rewarding. Villages bustle with NPCs, forests rustle with wildlife, and cities like Kaifeng unfold with a density that feels alive, each district offering something unique to discover. Combat is a dance, a conversation of attack and defense, with a rhythm that rewards patience and precision. Weapons feel distinct, the rope dart whips through the air with tension, the umbrella hides surprises behind its deceptively delicate frame, and the sword sings with every parry encounter. Martial arts and mystic arts expand the possibilities, giving you the sense that mastery is not merely a number, but a personal journey of skill and creativity. Boss fights are challenging, occasionally jarring in their design, but they push you to refine your timing, understand enemy behavior, and make choices under pressure. Even when the rhythm stumbles, the excitement never fully disappears. Where Winds Meet is not only about the fight, traversal and exploration are exhilarating. The first few hours teach you the basics, then grant you freedom through horses, special abilities, and vertical movement that encourages curiosity. Roofs, cliffs, and hidden groves invite discovery. You may find a secret item, a minigame, or a story snippet that colors your understanding of the world. These discoveries are rewarding because the game invests in small moments of wonder alongside the grand epic narrative. The story itself is intricate and patient, not rushing, yet never boring. You inhabit a world in upheaval, political turmoil under the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms, where personal growth intertwines with destiny. Characters are vivid, and while lip sync or translation issues occasionally remind you of the game's imperfections, the emotion conveyed is unmistakable. Relationships grow through interaction, through conversation, through shared trials, rather than merely ticking off dialogue boxes. Even when AI-driven systems feel unfinished, the intent to create connection is clear and occasionally delightfully effective. Free-to-play mechanics are present, but they are subtle. Monetization never feels oppressive. Progression can be grindy, yes, but not unfair. Your rewards come largely from engagement and exploration rather than a wallet. And the world offers so much that chasing the top-tier gear or mastering a particular weapon feels like a genuine achievement. Multiplayer layers additional depth, from drop-in co-op with friends to larger-scale raids and PvP encounters, letting players engage as they prefer. The systems are complex, but they invite mastery rather than demand it, providing a sense of satisfaction when you begin to understand the interconnected web of skills, gear, and abilities. The presentation is striking. Character models are elegant, combat animations fluid, and environmental lighting enhances mood and immersion. Minor technical hiccups exist, dialogue skipping, occasional control quirks, and uneven animations, but these rarely break the magic. The audio design, though not flawless, complements the action, the story, and the ambient life of the world. When a bell tolls across the mountains or a fan spins to deflect a barrage, the sound punctuates the moment with weight. Ultimately, Where Winds Meet is an expansive, thoughtful, and daring experience. It asks you to slow down, to pay attention, and to find joy in both spectacle and subtlety. It rewards curiosity, skill, and patience. It may not redefine every standard of the genre, and imperfections linger, yet the sense of immersion, the breadth of content, and the craftsmanship in combat and exploration elevate it beyond a typical free-to-play RPG. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. This is a game for those who love to lose themselves in a living, breathing world. SpongeBob SquarePants: Titans of the Tide is a game that instantly draws you into a chaotic yet charming undersea world. From the moment you step into Bikini Bottom, it's clear that this isn't just another kid's game. It's a playful adventure packed with heart, humor, and surprisingly clever design. The story kicks off with a confrontation between the Flying Dutchman and King Neptune, leaving half the city's residents as ghosts, including SpongeBob himself. Fortunately, with the power of the BFF rings, SpongeBob can swap forms with Patrick at any moment, giving you access to their unique abilities and creating dynamic gameplay opportunities that feel fresh from the very start. From a gameplay perspective, Titans of the Tide nails that delicate balance of accessibility and challenge. Controlling SpongeBob feels light and agile, with karate kicks and bubble-based puzzles, while Patrick's brute strength and burrowing ability open different paths and solutions. The swap mechanic isn't just a gimmick, it's essential. You're constantly switching between characters to traverse levels, solve environmental puzzles, and tackle enemies in inventive ways. The levels themselves are vibrant and imaginative, ranging from sun-drenched beaches to ghostly ruins, each filled with interactive elements that invite exploration and experimentation. Combat is simple but satisfying, with a rhythm that keeps encounters engaging without ever becoming frustrating. Boss battles add variety, requiring you to learn patterns and adapt, and although smaller versions of bosses reappear, their integration into subsequent levels feels like an opportunity to practice skills rather than a repetitive grind. Platforming is tight, with double jumps, glides, and environmental interactions that demand precision, especially when mid-air swapping between SpongeBob and Patrick. Certain sequences, particularly those requiring quick thinking and fluid character transitions, can be challenging, yet the game consistently rewards patience and observation. What really elevates Titans of the Tide is the visual and audio presentation. The environments have a 3D cartoonish charm that captures the essence of SpongeBob without strictly mimicking the show's 2D-style colors pop. Character animations are delightfully expressive, and the ghostly effects are both fun and atmospheric. The original voice cast returns, bringing authenticity and warmth to every line. From SpongeBob's infectious enthusiasm to Patrick's absurdly funny exclamations, even the minor characters have personality, making the world feel alive and layered. Side activities, collectibles, and mini-challenges provide a welcome layer of variety. Surfing on ghost boards, timing races, and collecting coins for costumes all add playful distractions without ever feeling like filler. While some sections, particularly the extended slides and certain puzzle backtracking, can stretch patience, they rarely derail the overall experience. Even occasional glitches or camera quirks are minor bumps in an otherwise smooth journey, never breaking immersion or dampening the joy of exploration. The game's pacing leans into a comforting rhythm. There's always a new nook to explore, a puzzle to solve, or a quirky character interaction waiting. The progression of abilities ensures that each level introduces fresh mechanics, keeping the adventure engaging from beginning to end. It's also worth noting that while the game targets a younger audience, its charm, humor, and clever design are likely to capture the attention of older players seeking nostalgia or simply a joyful platforming experience. SpongeBob SquarePants: Titans of the Tide delivers more than expected. It's a game brimming with personality, clever mechanics, and a palpable love for its source material. Its story, while straightforward, serves as a vibrant backdrop to inventive platforming and engaging puzzles. Whether you're revisiting Bikini Bottom as a longtime fan, introducing the world to younger players, or simply looking for a cheerful, skillful platformer, Titans of the Tide offers a rewarding and thoroughly enjoyable experience. For its combination of creative level design, engaging mechanics, and joyful presentation, I give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's a platforming adventure that fans of SpongeBob, 3D platformers, and family-friendly gaming should not miss.
From out of the sky, air ride machines rained down like shooting stars.
Imagine a racing game that feels alive, not just in its visual flair, but in the way it demands your attention at every moment. This is Kirby Air Riders, a game that resurrects a long-dormant concept and spins it into something both chaotic and unexpectedly precise. From the first second you lift off on your chosen machine, the world rushes past, and suddenly, you are entirely consumed by the rhythm of momentum, the subtle cadence of boosts and glides, and the delicate balance of risk versus reward on every track. The story might not be Shakespearean, but it has its own charm. Road Trip, the campaign mode, guides you through a series of fantastical environments, some luminous and playful, others tense and almost alien. Every area challenges you differently, weaving a tapestry of racing, minigames, and battles that keep your brain constantly calculating. There's a satisfying sense of progression here. Your character evolves not just in speed and agility, but in how you approach each obstacle. One moment, you're mastering a long glide to snag an elusive upgrade. The next, you're maneuvering a tight corner while dodging enemies and calculating when to unleash your special ability. It's a puzzle wrapped in speed. Gameplay in Air Ride mode is deceptively simple. Your machine propels itself forward automatically, leaving you with steering, boosting, and the strategic use of special abilities. On paper, it sounds effortless. In practice, it's hypnotically demanding. Every turn, every collision, every perfectly timed boost contributes to a rhythm that feels almost musical. The machines themselves are marvels of design, each with distinct handling, acceleration, and quirks that reward experimentation. Some excel in aerial maneuvers, others in brute force speed. Some feel slippery, others precise. Choosing your machine and pairing it with the right rider becomes a deeply personal decision, one that can mean the difference between victory and chaotic defeat. City Trial is a whirlwind of controlled chaos. You are dropped into a sandbox of mayhem, a playground where speed, timing, and opportunism collide. Collecting upgrades, hunting for legendary machines, and participating in impromptu minigames keeps the adrenaline high. But there's an undeniable tension beneath the fun. Top Ride and the classic Air Ride modes complement the sandbox chaos with more focused racing experiences. The overhead perspective in Top Ride makes each decision instant and visceral, emphasizing tight reflexes and situational awareness. The visual presentation is a feast. Every track, every machine, every character emits a personality. The color palettes are vibrant without being overwhelming, and the animations lend a surprising sense of weight and momentum. Even in the most chaotic moments, when a dozen things are happening at once, you never feel visually lost. The game communicates clarity amidst pandemonium. What stands out most, though, is the emotional engagement. There's a pulse to this game that few racers capture. It's exhilarating when a perfectly timed boost sends you soaring over the competition. It's tense when you face off against a rival in a minigame with everything on the line. It's gratifying when your strategy, honed through hours of experimentation, finally coalesces into a flawless victory. There's joy here, not just in winning, but in learning, exploring, and understanding the intricacies of this world. Kirby Air Riders is not for everyone. Its learning curve is steep, and its chaos can overwhelm newcomers. Yet, for those who thrive on challenge, discovery, and the kind of joyous disorder that rewards patience and skill, it offers one of the most satisfying racing experiences available. It's a game that asks you to engage fully, to feel every movement, and to embrace both its quirks and its brilliance. It is a triumph of design and imagination. It blends speed, strategy, and sheer fun into a package that feels both nostalgic and entirely fresh. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. If you love racing games that challenge your reflexes and your thinking in equal measure, or if you simply enjoy games that surprise and delight with every session, this is one to experience. Solid, chaotic, and deeply rewarding. Siberia Remastered is a journey that feels both familiar and new. Stepping into the shoes of Kate Walker, an American lawyer drawn from the predictable rhythms of New York life into the mysterious snow-covered town of Valladolid, you immediately sense the world has its own tempo. The story is less about frantic action and more about reflection, subtle discovery, and the quiet poetry of mechanical automatons moving through a world that seems paused between dream and memory. Visually, the remaster is a notable achievement. Every street, every frozen lake, and every creaking bridge has been reconstructed with care. The switch to fully 3D environments, enhanced lighting, and detailed character models gives the world a vibrancy that the original could only hint at. Yet, there's a delicate tension here. While the environments are stunning, some of the old charm is slightly muted, particularly in cutscenes where low-resolution animations occasionally disrupt immersion. Still, these moments are fleeting, and the majority of the game feels alive and tangible. Gameplay in Siberia Remastered keeps the deliberate pace that defined the original. Point-and-click exploration remains central, encouraging careful observation, interaction with the environment, and engagement with the townspeople and automatons that populate this unique world. Puzzles are thoughtfully integrated, ranging from simple mechanical manipulations to multi-step problem-solving, demanding patience rather than reflexes. Adventure mode delivers the classic experience, while story mode provides helpful prompts, making the game accessible without diminishing the satisfaction of discovery. Controls have been modernized, offering smoother movement and a dynamic camera that follows Kate with more fluidity than before. Still, navigating some spaces can feel awkward at times, and interactions occasionally require precise alignment, reminding players of the game's early 2000s design roots. Audio remains evocative, with melancholic orchestral themes underscoring the journey, though the English voice acting sometimes feels restrained, lacking the emotional nuance that contemporary performances often deliver. Siberia Remastered succeeds in reviving a classic without fundamentally changing it. The emotional depth of the story, the atmosphere of discovery, and the quiet wonder of its mechanical world are largely intact. It is not a perfect experience. Pacing and certain technical quirks might frustrate modern players, but for those willing to embrace its contemplative rhythm, it offers a rich and memorable adventure. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. For players who appreciate narrative-driven games, intricate environments, and puzzles that reward patience, Siberia Remastered is a compelling journey worth taking. It's slower, quieter, and more reflective than most contemporary titles, but it's precisely in that stillness that the game finds its magic. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment is a journey that begins with familiarity and grows into something unexpectedly satisfying. From the first moments you step into Zelda's shoes, whisked back in time to a Hyrule that feels alive and layered. The past is not just a backdrop, it pulses with stakes, drama, and a tangible weight of history. Each encounter carries a sense of skill that makes every swing of your sword feel consequential. Combat in this game is a blend of chaos and precision. The sheer joy of sending dozens of enemies flying at once never dulls, yet the introduction of unique skills, sync strikes, and the clever use of zonai devices adds a rhythm and strategy rarely seen in hack-and-slash games. Timing an aerial dash to counter a moblin's charge, setting up a flame emitter to clear a path, or syncing Zelda with Kia for a devastating combination, all of it feels empowering. It's a system that rewards curiosity, experimentation, and the thrill of mastering flow amidst mayhem. The characters themselves are not just avatars of action, they carry a sense of presence. Zelda shines as the balanced hero, Mineru's mechanical creativity turns battlefield control into an art, and Kalamo, though initially comedic, evolves into a surprisingly endearing companion. Even the mysterious construct adds an inventive twist with flight and transformation mechanics, providing both a break from the ground-level battles and a fresh perspective on familiar landscapes. Storytelling here is layered and deliberate. The game chooses to be canon, and the choice imbues every mission with weight. Witnessing Ganondorf's rise, the imprisoning war, and the formative struggles of Hyrule's first rulers isn't just context, it's the core of the experience. There are moments of quiet reflection between battles, where the world breathes and the music swells in a way that elevates the action. You feel connected to Zelda's journey, her trials, and the echoes of the past shaping the present. Visually, the game impresses without faltering. The Switch 2 hardware supports sprawling battles, intricate environments, and a stable frame rate that keeps the chaos smooth. Flying over the Sky Islands or diving into the depths feels cinematic, a rare treat in a genre so often grounded in repetition. Even when missions overlap in structure, the sheer skill, music, and variety of abilities keep you invested. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment is a harmonious blend of spectacle, strategy, and narrative. It understands the rhythm of Musou gameplay and enriches it with character, story, and world. The campaign alone offers dozens of hours of engagement, and with side missions, unlockables, and the satisfaction of mastering each character's unique skills, the game proves its lasting value. For fans of Zelda who crave a more action-oriented strategic experience, and for hack-and-slash enthusiasts seeking a polished, character-driven twist on a familiar formula, this is an essential journey. I scored an 8 out of 10. It's not merely a spin-off, it's a deeply enjoyable, thoughtfully crafted adventure. You step into the shoes of Captain Wayne. Right from the start, the game slaps you with energy, chaos, and a kind of absurd personality that doesn't ask for your permission to entertain. The setup is simple, almost absurd in its elegance. Your ship, the SS Salty, has been taken by a group of vicious mercenaries known as the Killer Whales. Your mission is clear: carve your way through tropical locales, smash anything that moves, and reclaim what's yours. Now, let's talk gameplay. Captain Wayne is unapologetically a boomer shooter, a fast-paced, old-school first-person shooter with a modern polish that still keeps your heart racing. The combat is relentless, intense, and deeply satisfying. Wayne's arm-turned weapon feels heavy and impactful. Every swing, blast, or bullet leaves a mess that's as gory as it is gratifying. You have mobility options that allow you to move through levels like an acrobat, dodging death itself, weaving through enemies, and constantly feeling like you're in control of chaos. The 8 main campaign levels are packed with frenetic action, but they do occasionally overstretch. Halfway through, the repeated enemy patterns and sponge-like bosses can wear you down, forcing moments where you just have to survive rather than conquer. Yet, the game never feels unfair. It rewards aggressive movement, observation, and the willingness to throw yourself headlong into every fight. There's an endless mode as well, providing a playground to test your skills and experiment with Wayne's arsenal. Art direction is a statement on its own. The visuals are hand-drawn, intentionally rough around the edges, bursting with color and cartoonish energy. It's chaotic, almost scribbled, but it fits the tone. This is a game that doesn't try to be slick or polished. It's raw, it's loud, and it wants you to feel every punch and blast. The cutscenes are brief, bizarre, and full of campy humor. They might make you cringe at times, but they also bring a grin. capturing Wayne's over-the-top personality. The soundtrack deserves its own paragraph. It's relentless, driving the chaos forward, and somehow perfectly syncs with the mayhem on screen. You're sprinting through levels, bullets flying, enemies screaming, and the music doesn't let up for a second. It fuels your momentum and keeps the adrenaline high. There are minor rough edges. The interface can get cluttered during heavy action, some localization feels inconsistent, and the cutscenes, while funny, lack polish in voice acting and timing. But these are small blemishes in an experience that's otherwise pure, energetic fun. This is not a game for subtlety or refinement. It's a game for pure, unrestrained action. In conclusion, Captain Wayne, Vacation Desperation is a chaotic, gory, and absurdly fun boomer shooter that wears its personality on its sleeve. It isn't perfect, but it delivers exactly what it promises: fast-paced combat, a larger-than-life protagonist, and a vibrant, outrageous world. If you love old-school FPS games, enjoy absurd humor, or just want to experience a game that moves as fast as your reflexes allow, this is one to check out. For me, it is an 8 out of 10, and a game I can recommend to fans of retro shooters, players who crave high-energy action, and anyone willing to embrace the ridiculous fun of a pirate with a shotgun arm.
And another.
Moonlighter 2. The Endless Vault invites you back into a world where commerce and adventure are inseparably intertwined, and yet, somehow, it manages to feel both familiar and profoundly fresh. You step into the shoes of Will, the white-haired adventure merchant, now transported to the mysterious village of Tresna, a place that hums with life, ambition, and hidden danger. The overarching thread is the Endless Vault itself, a sentient, demanding force that challenges you to grow your wealth, acquire rare relics, and prove your mastery of both combat and commerce. The story unfolds gradually, revealing the stakes behind the vault and the friendships that anchor Will in this strange new world. Characters like Mrs. Scratch, Xenon, and Tomo bring warmth, humor, and guidance, shaping the village into more than just a backdrop for loot and sales. The dungeons are where Moonlighter 2 truly shines. Each biome feels distinct, from the artfully twisted corridors of Kalaina, where elemental hazards challenge your positioning, to the museum-like gallery that makes every treasure feel like a heist in miniature, to the chaotic Aeolia with its relentless flying foes. Combat is fluid and engaging. Weapons each carry weight and personality. The gauntlets are a whirlwind of rapid strikes and evasive maneuvers, while the spear allows for precise, controlled damage at range. The heavy sword hits like a meteor, but demands patience and timing. Your trusty gun adds tactical flexibility, while the backpack strike is a joyful, tactile way to manipulate enemies in the heat of battle. Every encounter demands attention, whether timing your rolls to dodge a deadly AoE or sequencing your attacks to optimize elemental buffs. The combat has intensity, yet it never feels gratuitous. Each skirmish rewards observation, adaptability, and clever use of your arsenal. The roguelite structure adds layers of strategy. Path maps between rooms allow careful planning. Do you chase treasure, buff your weapon, or push toward a mini-boss with minimal resources? Each choice has consequence. Relics themselves are not mere currency. They are tools, sometimes volatiles, that interact with each other and the world. Burning a relic might destroy some, but it can also empower others. Arranging your backpack becomes a satisfying puzzle, a mix of risk, reward, and foresight. The tactile joy of lining up relics to trigger their effects and watching their value surge is quietly, profoundly rewarding. Returning to Tresna is equally compelling. The shop is no longer a passive post-run ritual, but a dynamic, living ecosystem. Setting prices, observing customer reactions, and navigating market psychology makes every transaction meaningful. Strategic perks and buffs allow for deeper planning. Do you favor maximizing tips, enhancing certain relic qualities, or investing in upgrades for future runs? The village itself feels inhabited, alive, and worth exploring. NPCs have quirks, shops have personality, and upgrades feel tangible, bridging the gap between adventure and commerce seamlessly. The aesthetic is a triumph. Transitioning from 2D to 3D, Moonlighter 2 preserves the charm of its predecessor while amplifying the vibrancy and scale of the world. Light, shadow, and pastel colors bring Tresna and the dungeons to life. Enemy design balances whimsy with menace. Ambient audio and the reactive soundtrack punctuate both shopkeeping and combat with immersive clarity, drawing you into every clink of a coin, every metallic clash, and every crackling elemental strike. Yet, despite these heights, the game maintains tension. Combat can become overwhelming, especially in dense rooms or against bosses with layered mechanics. Resource management, from health potions to backpack space, requires constant attention. The shop loop, while addictive, can expose the limits of current mechanics, occasionally making pricing feel more trial and error than strategic. These are minor blemishes on an otherwise meticulously crafted experience. Moonlighter 2. The Endless Vault is a masterclass in dual-loop gameplay, harmonizing dungeon crawling and shopkeeping into a rhythm that is engaging, challenging, and endlessly satisfying. It is a game that rewards patience, creativity, and clever planning, yet it welcomes experimentation, encouraging you to find your own style and approach. For those who love strategic action, roguelite depth, and a touch of entrepreneurial flair, This is a title that demands attention. Moonlighter 2. The Endless Vault earns a solid 8 out of 10. It is highly recommended for action RPG enthusiasts, roguelite fans, and anyone who has ever dreamed of balancing heroics with business acumen. The game is polished, vibrant, and brimming with potential, setting a new standard for sequels in this genre, promising hours of meaningful play and thoughtful challenge. Winterboro is a game that quietly pulls you in. You step into the tiny paws of a mouse returning to their childhood home, only to find it in ruins. The world is cold, stark, and beautiful. The snow stretches endlessly, each tree and stone rendered with delicate, hand-drawn care. It's a picture book come alive, but one where every page demands attention and thought. From the very first moments, you feel the weight of survival, balanced with a surprising sense of coziness. You begin with almost nothing: a broken fireplace, a dilapidated armchair, and the barest essentials. The first task is simple: light the fire. It's a small act, but it's immediately rewarding. It brings warmth to the room and to your experience. From there, you repair furniture, craft a bed, and slowly unlock tools to make your life manageable. Each task feels meaningful, each small victory tangible. Outside, the world is harsh. Cold bites at your paws, snow blankets the ground, and hunger waits patiently to punish the unprepared. You forage, you chop, you knit, and you cook. Stamina and warmth are constant companions, guiding your actions and slowing your rush. But unlike many survival games, mistakes are gentle. If you falter, your mouse passes out rather than dies, leaving you with a sense of tension without crushing frustration. It allows exploration and curiosity to coexist with the stakes of survival. The gameplay loop is simple but satisfying. Collect resources, craft tools, repair and decorate your burrow, then venture out to gather more. Each step forward is tangible. The crafting is intuitive, the cooking satisfying, and the knitting surprisingly engaging. There's a rhythm here, a quiet pacing that makes you savor each day in the life of this small creature. Still, the repetition is noticeable. After a few hours, trips back and forth across snowy landscapes can feel slow, especially when you're already tending to warmth and hunger. Interactions with other characters bring depth to the narrative. Your aunt guides you initially, and as you meet others, you uncover small stories, gestures, and world details that feel alive. The world communicates without words sometimes. A broken teapot, a patched-up chair, the curling smoke of a fireplace. These details make the forest and burrow feel lived in and intimate. Visually, Winterboro is stunning. The hand-drawn art is warm, soft, and layered. Indoors, the colors hug you. Outdoors, the palette feels cold but never sterile. Music and sound design enhance the environment. The crackle of fire, the tiny footsteps in the snow, the whistle of a kettle. All of it builds an immersive world where the mouse's struggles feel real. Each night, when your mouse sighs before sleep, you understand the delicate balance between toil and comfort. There are some rough edges. The quest guidance can be vague, leaving moments of aimless wandering. Storage management is cumbersome, and occasionally the survival elements slow the pacing too much. Snowstorms can obscure vision, and decorating has limitations. Yet none of these flaws detract from the core joy of the game. They are minor inconveniences in an experience that otherwise feels crafted with care and thought. Winterboro thrives on small emotional moments. Cooking a meal, lighting a fire, or finishing a knitted coat creates a profound sense of satisfaction. Exploration is not grand in scale, but each new corner has something to discover: tools, recipes, or a tiny story. There's a balance here between challenge and comfort, survival and coziness, that keeps you invested without overwhelming you. This is a game for anyone who enjoys thoughtful, deliberate gameplay. If you like survival games that favor strategy over panic, narrative-driven worlds, or simply taking joy in creating and maintaining a small home, Winterboro will resonate. It's not a test of endurance or skill alone. It's a quiet meditation on resilience, home, and care. Winterboro is not flawless, but it is sincere, immersive, and emotionally resonant. It is a beautifully drawn, cozy survival experience that challenges gently and rewards richly. For its warmth, its charm, and the depth of its little world, it earns a solid 8 out of 10. It's an easy recommendation for those who want to feel the bite of winter and the comfort of a home they can restore, one stitch, one fire, and one meal at a time. In Hypogeia, the moment the staff meets your grip, the world changes. Pole vaulting becomes a verb, a language of momentum and trust. You learn timing by feel, not by instruction. You learn the geometry of a ledge by listening to the hum of a pipe. Each successful swing carries a small, private thrill. It is a movement system that rewards curiosity and patience, and it does so with an elegance I did not expect to find in a compact game. The spaces themselves are the other character. Cavernous halls, moss platforms, and quiet machinery compose a choir of lonely textures. Lighting sketches memory into corners. Sound is minimal but precise. A piston hiss, a distant creak, a melody that blooms only when you need it. The story is implied in these details, the artifacts you collect, the gestures of other automatons, the slow restoration of a place that has nearly forgotten itself. Puzzles are gentle. They exist to extend the rhythm of traversal, to offer a moment of thought between leaps. They never interrupt flow. They sit beside exploration like a companion who points silently and smiles. Yes, There are small rough edges, a ledge grab that misses, a momentary collision that breaks the sequence. These are fleeting. They never stop the main song. What lingers when you finish is not a checklist of features, but a feeling. The hollow warmth of having moved through something meaningful. Hypogea is brief, it asks less of your time than of your attention. It gives back more than its running hours would suggest. For me, it is an 8 out of 10, and I recommend it to players who love tactile movement, explorers who prefer atmosphere over exposition, and anyone who wants a compact, emotionally honest adventure. If you crave long epics or relentless action, this may not be for you. Listen close, this game does not whisper, it unfolds. You begin in 1337, with smoke on the horizon, with a kingdom that feels fragile. The map is huge, yes, but what's bigger is the weight inside each province. People who work, pray, trade, and sometimes die. EU5 makes those thousands of faces matter. The opening hours are a study in humility. The Black Death arrives like a fact you must negotiate with, not an event that simply subtracts numbers, but a furnace that changes how your nation breathes. You learn to keep a hand on the treasury, another on your estates, and a third on roads and ports. Every decision ripples. Every pause is a decision. Mechanics are dense, but never showy for its own sake. Populations are not tokens. They are the engine. Markets pulse, control decays across distance. Armies chew through manpower and meaning. Wars are costly and more than gold. They hollow out your workforce and reshape your politics. That cost matters here. Automation is pragmatic and honest. Use it when you need to see the forest. Turn it off when you want to prune a single tree. The UI leans heavy, but it teaches in layers. Hover, read, absorb. The music, broad, solemn, keeps time with your eras, and it makes long sessions feel less like chores and more like chapters. But the game is not flawless. The AI sometimes prefers peace over cunning. Borders can ossify into odd shapes that defy historical logic. Performance hiccups remind you this is a living thing, not a finished monument. These flaws are forgivable, because the core vision is alive and stubborn. If you crave human-scale consequence inside a globe-spanning simulation, this will reward obsession. If you want quick thrills and clean win conditions, this will likely frustrate you. Europa Universalis 5 is a triumph of simulation, imperfect but essential. It demands patience and it repays it with depth. I score it an 8 out of 10, and I recommend it to grand strategy veterans, history-minded players, and anyone who enjoys slow-burning, systems-driven games. Princess of the Water Lilies opens like a storybook, soft paper, warm ink, then quietly lifts your expectations and rearranges them. You are a small gray cat found by frogs, raised among lilies and croaks. You wake, you purr, and the world responds. That purr is not a gimmick, it is an instrument that sculpts the environment. It asks you to think in terms of rhythm, not reflex. The world itself feels hand-painted, colors breathe, backgrounds are layered like memory. Movement is weighty and honest, each jump has intention, controls are simple, not empty, and they reward patience over speed. You learn to listen to the level design, you learn to time the purr, to coax a mushroom, to coax a bridge into being. The patience is the point. Boss encounters blast the patience into something else. Here, the game strips gentleness and replaces it with chaos. Bullet-filled skies and mechanical horrors demand pattern reading and calm hands. The contrast creates a pulse. You arrive at a quiet meadow, and in the next breath, you are dancing with hazards. It is unsettling. It is thrilling. There are rough seams. Sometimes, an object slips an inch too far. Sometimes the camera pockets your view. These moments are real. They remind you that the game was made by people who chose risk, and that risk is visible. Yet, even those small frictions underscore the sincerity of the craft. What lingers finally is the feeling of being slightly smaller than the world and simultaneously of belonging to it. The story does not shout, it whispers. It trusts you to fill in the spaces. It trusts you to feel concern for a frog, to feel fierce when a machine intrudes, and to feel relief when a lily blooms under your purr. This is a quiet triumph with rough edges. It is an invitation to slow down, to explore with deliberate steps, and to accept moments of sudden, startling intensity. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. Play this if you value atmosphere, careful pacing, and emotional design. If you crave perfection in controls or uninterrupted polish, approach with patient curiosity rather than expectation. I played Demon's School with the kind of attention that makes ordinary moments feel larger. I watched the island's light change from sickly purple to acid green, and I listened to characters say the same line twice and then mean something different the second time. I learned how to plan a turn so carefully that, when it landed, the battlefield felt like a solved riddle. The game is, at its core, a mood generator. It builds small rooms into strange worlds, then asks you to move pieces through them. Combat is quiet theater. You spend time in a planning phase, arranging motion and intent, and then you hit play, and the scene unfolds. That gives each skirmish the weight of choreography. That gives every success the taste of coincidence finally made deliberate. Movement is action, and action is consequence. A single push can create a chain. A single misstep can collapse your plan. This fragility makes choices feel important without making the game grind heavy. It invites you to think like a tactician, while rewarding you for seeing patterns before they appear. The story sits beside the mechanics, not above them. It offers an island that feels slightly wrong, corridors that hum, labs that remember things they shouldn't, teachers with too many smiles. The cast are not archetypes stripped of nuance. They joke, they deflect, they hold pieces of themselves close until you coax them out. When a quiet line lands, it can cut through the noise and change how you feel about the fight you just had. This is not a game of endless escalation. It tightens rather than balloons. There is no power treadmill to climb. Instead, there is learning. Learn the character links, learn how elements mix, learn how to make a single turn do all the things you needed to. That learning loop is its pleasure. But Demon School is not flawless. The rhythm never quite steadies. Battles arrive often, and the repetition of similar maps and similar enemy sets can dull the edges. Dialogue aims for punch and sometimes lands on fatigue. Technical stutters appear, enough times to remind you that immersion is a fragile thing. Even so, the game's voice is confident. The visuals work like a mood board. Stark sprites, saturated hues, and an interface that likes to glitch just enough to feel alive. The music keeps its distance, scoring scenes without ever shouting. For me, it is a 7.5 out of 10. I recommend Demon School to players who favor intelligent, puzzle-like tactics and atmospheric storytelling. Play it if you enjoy deliberate combat that prizes timing and placement over numbers. Approach it cautiously if you need constant mechanical variety, or if repetition quickly frays your patience. Demon School is an experiment that mostly succeeds. It is small in scale, precise in intent, and at times unexpectedly moving. It asks you to appreciate choreography over accumulation, subtlety over spectacle, and that request feels rare and worth answering.
I came to understand I was something called a baby.
Goodnight Universe is a game that asks you to experience life through the eyes of a 6-month-old baby named Isaac. But this isn't just any baby. Isaac thinks like an adult. He questions everything around him, and he develops psychic powers that let him move objects, read minds, and interact with the world in ways most infants could only dream of. The premise alone is enough to make you pause and wonder how a story like this could possibly work. Yet, from the moment you start, it quickly becomes clear that the developers have created a world that's as charming as it is emotionally resonant. Playing as Isaac is unlike controlling any other character. You aren't running through levels or solving complex puzzles. Instead, you're exploring the household, observing the small yet extraordinary details of family life, and using your powers to subtly shape the environment. Whether it's nudging toys to make someone laugh, moving objects to amuse yourself, or listening in on the inner thoughts of your parents, every interaction feels deliberate and grounded in the perspective of a child discovering the world. The story is where Goodnight Universe truly shines. It's a deeply personal and heartfelt narrative about love, family, and the fleeting nature of time. Moments of joy and whimsy blend seamlessly with the more tender, sometimes heartbreaking scenes. Watching Isaac interact with his family, witnessing his sister's affection, and hearing his father's quiet insecurities creates a level of intimacy rarely found in games. The emotional depth is amplified by Lewis Pullman's narration, which captures the innocence, curiosity, and subtle melancholy of Isaac's experience. The voice acting, combined with a vibrant, cartoonish art style, makes every scene visually and audibly engaging. Gameplay is simple, but it works for the story. You point, click, and occasionally use Isaac's powers, but the mechanics are never the focus. They exist to reinforce your connection to Isaac and the world around him. The camera and blink mechanics are brilliant on platforms that support them, letting you feel fully immersed. Though on systems without those features, you can still enjoy the story, just with slightly less intimacy. The pacing can falter in moments where text-heavy segments slow the flow, and the on-rail sections feel a bit forced, but the narrative keeps you invested enough that these minor issues rarely break immersion. Goodnight Universe excels at making you feel like a part of the story, not just an observer. Its playful sequences, quiet domestic moments, and emotionally charged scenes all work together to create a game that's both whimsical and touching. The combination of psychic abilities, clever environmental interactions, and heartfelt storytelling makes it a unique experience that lingers long after you've put down the controller. It's not perfect. Some segments could be tighter, and the lack of full camera integration on certain platforms limits the intended immersion. But these flaws are minor when weighed against the overall charm and emotional impact of the game. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. It is a beautiful, clever, and moving adventure that I would recommend to anyone who enjoys narrative-driven games, character-driven stories, or simply wants a fresh perspective on what games can achieve emotionally. It's an experience that makes you laugh, reflect, and even shed a few tears along the way. Paris is burning. Smoke curls around facades that still remember candlelight, while iron and steam begin to hum in the alleys. You step into boots not of a single man, but of an idea, Céline or César Bonaparte, and the revolution is suddenly yours to run. This game is not a history lesson. It is a feeling of momentum, of brittle alliances, of the heavy, slow footfall of a colossus on cobblestone. Play unfolds in two close, breathing layers. 1. The political theater, votes, whispers, propaganda, the subtle theft of consent. 2. The battlefield, measured, tactile, unforgiving. Both layers listen to each other. A law passed in the convention changes morale on the front. A victory earned by guile reshapes who will sit beside you at the table. That interplay is where the game sings. Combat is deliberate. Each move matters. Flanks bite like cold steel. Morale shatters like glass. Colossi are spectacle and burden. They tower, they intimidate, and they demand resources. Use them and they shift the whole map's emotional pitch. Ignore them and someone else will. The tension is not only can I win, but at what cost? Politics is a quiet war of inches. Conversations carry weight. Small acts, a decree here, a charity there, ripple outward. The simulation does not always explain itself, and that opacity can frustrate. Yet, when the pieces slot into place, the world feels alive. Factions that breathe, reputations that harden, promises that haunt you. The game is earnest more than flashy. Its art is oil and grit. Its music is a slow heartbeat that becomes a drum. Bugs appear, systems want more depth, and the AI sometimes walks obvious paths. Still, these are scuffs on a currency that already buys you an experience few games attempt. Ideological strategy made intimate. This is a game for thinkers who like their victories to mean something. It is for tacticians who savor choice as consequence. It is not for players who want instant spectacle without reflection. I scored a 7.5 out of 10. I recommend it to fans of layered strategy, players who enjoy political systems that bite, and anyone curious about an alternate history that asks you to wrestle with power. I started playing solo leveling, Arise Overdrive with a simple expectation. I wanted to feel powerful. I wanted the thrum of momentum, the feedback of every strike, the kinetic satisfaction of escalation. What I found was a game that understands that craving and then complicates it. Combat is the heart here. It's immediate and tactile. Each weapon carries a distinct weight. Each skill snaps into the next with satisfying rhythm. You'll parry, then evade, then punish. Sometimes in half a second, sometimes across a sequence that leaves your palms warm. When the Monarch awakens, the game does not merely boost numbers. It changes the choreography. Combos extend, shadows bloom. The screen feels denser and more alive. Those moments deliver the pure, almost selfish pleasure of power fantasy. Outside of fights, the game's structure is narrower. Mission maps are often linear corridors. Encounters can feel like reiterated motifs rather than fresh compositions. Still, those corridors funnel you towards set pieces, bosses, emergent cinematics, and weapon swing moments that justify the repetition. Crafting and progression are clean and meaningful. You forge weapons from loot, you tune builds, and you watch incremental improvements compound into genuinely different playstyles. Visually, Arise Overdrive is brash in the best way. Cel-shaded vistas and hard neon hues give the world an illustrated energy. Transitions between panel-style webtoon frames and 3D cutscenes are smartly used. They create a pulsing narrative rhythm that can be thrilling when timed well. Audio complements the action, impact sounds bite, voice performances lend texture, and music swells at the right beats. There are, however, technical frictions. Moments where presentation stutters or lines misalign. And those interruptions sometimes yank you out of the flow. Emotionally, the game is a study in compressed satisfaction. It tells Jinwoo's story in shorthand, prioritizing crescendo over nuance. The choice pays off when you crave catharsis. It costs you if you were hoping for slow burn character work. But the game's design makes the peaks feel earned. The grind feeds the payoff, and the payoff feels heavy. The cooperative content is a pleasant counterpoint. 4-player raids turn choreography into orchestration, roles matter, timing matters. The same systems that let you solo also reward coordination. In sum, Arise Overdrive nails the sensation of becoming more than you were. It falters in variety and occasionally in polish, but when it sings loud. It is a 7 out of 10, and I can recommend it if you love immediate, expressive action and enjoy building toward powerful, cinematic moments. If you need sprawling exploration, or you cannot tolerate technical hiccups, you may want to wait for patches.
To hell, Rockstar.
You feel the first riff like a nudge, then another. Then the world answers. That is Devil Jam in a sentence. A roguelite that thinks and beats. Here, your weapons live on a 12-cell fretboard. Each column is a beat, each row is a choice. Place an attack, place a buff. Hear them land together. It's strange. It's clever. It makes the chaos feel musical. Gameplay leans into that feeling. Enemies swarm. Experience pours in. Level up choices arrive like chorus lines. Attacks, passives, little enchantments. Bosses break the verse, every 10 minutes roughly, and they demand rhythm as much as reflex. Sometimes you'll dance through a fight. Sometimes the music will trip you up. The balance isn't always kind. Expect spikes. Expect moments where the run turns from I'm unstoppable to I wish I'd taken a different perk in a single brutal encounter. The art glows. Hand-drawn characters and devilish NPCs, the 7 deadly sins, give the hub life. Their portraits have personality. Their lines, sparse as they are, reward repeat visits. The soundtrack? Pounding. Often repetitive, yes, but when it hits, especially in boss fights, it lands like a stadium anthem. It could use more variety, yet the beats you get are memorable. Progression is where Devil Jam phrase. Meta unlocks arrive, and then plateau. Currency systems and hidden objectives make advancement feel opaque at times. Healing is scarce, unless you lean on specific weapons that boost drops. That makes strategy more meaningful, but it also makes some runs feel punishing rather than rewarding. Technical polish surprised me. Smooth performance, great Steam Deck stability, and very few bugs. The real promise here is the fretboard system. It turns each run into a composition. With more biomes, clearer meta feedback, and a bit of balance tuning, this could be a staple. Devil Jam is inventive, stylish, and addictive in short bursts. It's rough around the edges, but it composes thrills better than most newcomers. I score it a 7 out of 10, and I recommend it to players who love experimental roguelites, fans of auto-battlers who crave strategic depth, and anyone who wants a music-driven twist on survival runs. I played Ala expecting a haunted headset and found something more complicated, a machine that remembers for you, and a man who doesn't want to. The game starts small, a single room, a television, and a remote. And then it stretches into several vivid nightmares. Each one is different. Each one leaves a mark. What I loved first was the opening. The atmosphere is not loud. It is patient. Sound and light do more of the heavy lifting than flashy set pieces. The first 30 minutes make the hair on my neck stand up. The remote that changes rooms. The hush of a corridor that wants you to keep walking. Those are quiet design choices that feel deliberate and confident. Then the game shows its ambition. It tries many kinds of horror. Medieval villages, soggy ships, claustrophobic houses. The variety is thrilling. It also causes tension with gameplay. Combat is serviceable, not inspired. Aiming can feel blunt. Animations stutter at times. Enemies rarely surprise in behavior, and boss fights often resolve into circle and shoot patterns. Those mechanical shortfalls dull what would otherwise be sharper fear. Narratively, Isla understands restraint. Samuel's apartment scenes, domestic, small, human, register more emotionally than half the monsters. The choices you make carry a moral itch. They rarely rewrite the story, but they alter the tone of the final moments. The karma system whispers at you. It never screams. Technically, the game looks lovely in places. Lighting, particle work, and environmental detail are ambitious. The Polish gaps are visible. Character rigs, ragdolls, and occasional frame hiccups, but they never collapse the experience. If you are searching for a relentless scare, this is not it. If you want to be unsettled, intrigued, and occasionally startled, Ayala will deliver. It is a lean 9-hour conversation about guilt, memory, and the cost of outsourcing feeling to a machine. It's imperfect and sincere. For me, it is a 7 out of 10. This is a game for players who love atmospheric anthology-style horror, listeners who prefer slow burn dread over constant shocks, and anyone curious about narrative experiments that marry empathy to technology.
Scrub with step sponge.
I opened this one expecting a tidy little loop. Instead, I found a room that keeps rearranging itself. The game greets you with grime, yes, but also with a tone. Playful, crooked, and oddly earnest. That tone is not background noise. It is the engine that moves the whole play experience. Listen, cleaning here isn't about perfection. It's about choices made under pressure, with friends or solo, while absurd things happen around you. The controls are tactile enough to make scrubbing feel purposeful. Mops thwack, sprays hiss. The pressure washer sings in a way that, oddly, becomes comforting. The levels are a string of scenes. Police stations, wizard dens, streamer houses. Each one a little theater of mess. The objectives nudge you forward, but they never hold your hand. Sometimes that's frustrating, sometimes it's discovery. The humor lives in that tension. It surprises you. It sneaks up on you, and then, often it makes you laugh. Technically, the game is rough around the edges. Multiplayer occasionally stutters. Voice lines can sound thin. Menus betray their early access roots. Those faults are real, they matter. But they don't erase what the game does well. It creates moments. A teammate trips and sends glitter flying. A cursed computer coughs up digital confetti. A polite deer stares at you as you mop his floor. These moments stick. If you like clean, pristinely polished Sims, this is not for you. If you like social chaos, experimental humor, and tactile gameplay that rewards repetition and curiosity, you will find a strange, warming groove here. Play with friends if possible. The best memories come from shared mistakes. I score it a 7 out of 10. And I recommend for players who enjoy cooperative party games, fans of light simulation with a comedic twist, and anyone who values emergent social moments over glossy presentation. I cannot recommend for players seeking a zen, solo cleaning simulator experience. Project Motor Racing arrives with big ambitions. A sim racer from Straight 4 Studios, it promises authentic sports car racing, from LMDH hypercars to historic Group C machines. You'll find 70 vehicles spanning decades and 28 global track layouts from the Nürburgring to Mount Panorama. Right away, it's clear this is not a casual experience. From the moment you start, you notice how precise the game wants you to be. The menus are clean, though simple, and the career mode immediately sets the tone. Every race has financial consequences, buy-in fees, repairs, sponsorships. These aren't just numbers, they shape how you approach each lap. Aggressive moves can cost you a race or damage your car beyond repair. This focus on authentic career management is refreshing, giving a sense of weight to every decision. On track, Project Motor Racing shines in some areas, but struggles in others. Cars feel raw and reactive, especially when using a wheel. Force feedback transmits every bump, drain, and piece of rubber under your tires, making GT and classic cars a joy to pilot. However, LMDH prototypes are wildly unpredictable. They feel unstable, almost punishing, and often undo any progress you've made on track. Even with adjustments, these cars can frustrate more than exhilarate. The tracks themselves are a mixed bag. Some, like Spa and Daytona, are instantly recognizable and rewarding to master. Others, though laser scanned for accuracies, feel underwhelming visually, lacking the polish of other modern simulators. The true two-track system adds dynamic elements such as tire wear, dry lines, and spray effects, which are immersive, but weather physics remain inconsistent and snow is absent entirely. Audio is a highlight. Each car has a distinct roaring engine note, from the throaty turbos of vintage beasts to the sharp cries of modern prototypes. Subtle touches, like the clunk of suspension over bumps, enhance the sense of realism. Yet ambient sounds and collision effects don't always match this quality. Gameplay is brutally honest. Without assists, cars punish sloppy inputs. Controllers work but feel limited. The game shines with a racing wheel. The tuning options are deep, with suspension, aero, and tire pressures affecting performance in meaningful ways. Unfortunately, not every player wants to spend hours in menus before getting to the track. Default setups aren't always reliable, especially in high-end cars, leaving newcomers struggling. AI performance is another pain point. Opponents often behave unnaturally, sticking to the racing line, failing to draft, or acting oblivious to your presence. This diminishes the thrill of single-player races, and multi-class events only exacerbate the problem. Multiplayer, with ranked racing and custom lobbies, promises improvement, but at launch, its potential remains largely untested. The career mode is the game's standout. Managing funds, choosing championships, and balancing sponsorship obligations inject depth rarely seen in modern simulators. Yet the difficulty curve can feel punishing, particularly with undrivable cars and brittle AI. It's a game that rewards patience and persistence, but risks alienating those looking for immediate thrills. Visually, cars are the centerpiece. Interiors, liveries, and exteriors are rendered with care, and cockpit views immerse you in the driving experience. Tracks, by contrast, lack detail and personality in places, and environmental effects, while functional, don't elevate the overall presentation. Frame rates are mostly stable, but occasionally dip in larger events. Project Motor Racing is ambitious and in many respects admirable. It nails car authenticity, force feedback, and career management, providing a sim racing experience with tangible stakes and rewards. Yet broken LMDH handling, underwhelming AI, and uneven track visuals prevent it from fully delivering the thrill it promises. For me, it is only a 6.5 out of 10 and just okay.